Okay, so in the last video we looked at these three problems here, and we saw that what really happened is we were subtracting the exponents every time. And so let's state that now as a formal formula here. X to the m over x to the n is going to be x to the m minus n. We're always subtracting the number in top minus the number in bottom. Now we're going to do a little bit more complicated example in a moment, but first I want to turn to an example that has a strange result, to say the least. So here we have g to the 6th over g to the 10th. Now in the three examples that we did up above, the number in the top, the exponent at the top, was always bigger. Something a little strange happens here if we follow our process through, though, when the number in the bottom is bigger than the top. Because we would do 6 minus 10, following our rule down here, following our rule for dividing things with exponents. But 6 minus 10 is negative 4. 6 minus 10 is negative 4. So we get a g to the negative 4. And we say to ourselves here, what just happened? Because that's just weird. How can you multiply something times itself a negative number of times? Right? How does that make sense? Right? That doesn't fit with our definition of exponents. It's just weird. So what the heck's going on here? Well, we're going to come back to this issue a little bit later and address it when we start talking about negative exponents. For now, I'm just going to leave that as it is, g to the negative 4th, along with the encouragement that we are going to see how to handle this later. We want to focus on right now dealing with just positive exponent problems, and then we'll come back to this problem a little bit later. So let's consider another example here. This time we have a fraction that's a little bit more complicated. Just like we did when we multiplied in that example before, we want to go ahead and put like with like. So 28 over 16, x to the 10th over x to the 4th, y to the 12th over y to the 7th. And then we go through and simplify those. 28 over 16, that's numbers. So we have to deal with number arithmetic. So we have to simplify the 28 and the 16. And it turns out in the case of 28 and 16 that 4 goes into both of those. 4 goes into 28 7 times. 4 goes into 16 4 times. So the first thing I'm going to say here is I got 7 over 4. 7 on top, 4 on the bottom. And then we turn to our variables. I have an x to the 10th over an x to the 4th. So we subtract, following our rule for exponents, 10 minus 4. And that answer is going to go in the numerator when we do this division, the subtracting part here. 10 minus 4 gives me x to the 6th. And then we move to the bottom here, or to the next term, y to the 12th over y to the 7th. Again, using our rule for dividing exponents, we would do 12 minus 7. And that would give us, of course, y raised to the 5th power. So our final answer here is 7x to the 6th, y to the 5th, all of that over the number 4. All of that over the number 4. Okay, so we've now talked about multiplying exponents, things with exponents, dividing things with exponents. In the next video we're going to look at what happens when exponents are involved with powers, and we're going to continue just building this up as we develop some more rules.